I wanted to ask you about, because you live in Delhi, and
Yeah.
yet you grew
I
up in
am,
Calcutta. So
yeah,
first, tell us about your connection to Calcutta,
yeah,
and then this whole notion of having Calcutta on the
on the
mind.
mind. So I'm a sort of a Calcutta girl through and through. I was born here, I grew up here, went to school here, and then I went to Presidency. My husband is also a Calcutta boy. They have a very interesting story.
You met at Presidency,
We
right?
met in
Okay,
Presidency,
okay, yes.
and what I joke is that we were a very 70s couple in the yeah in the 2000s. So we met in Presidency. We used to go to coffee house almost every day,
Okay.
and College Street. So if I talk about Calcutta on my mind, two places. So one is the house in which I grew up. This was in sort of the heart of Calcutta, near Park Circus,
Right.
and it was this old house, and we lived on the 4th floor.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember the afternoons, in that house, and it was one of those beautifully built old houses with those very proportionate rooms, and that fine symmetry, that Calcutta architecture, which
High ceilings.
high
Yes.
ceilings and skylights,
Yeah.
and that now, so many years later, the memory of that house and those rooms and the afternoons there when I would come back from school, and my grandmother was a voracious reader, so she and I would read. Initially she would read to me, and then we'd read our books. So she'd be reading her books and I'd be reading mine.
Did she read to you in Bangla or in English?
Bangla.
Okay.
Bangla, and then we'd be in the house because my parents were both working, so they'd be out.
Right.
So she'd be in the house reading her book, and I'd be in my corner reading, and the afternoon in that house, and the light and the sounds, because it was a very busy street, so there was traffic all the time. So that in the mind. So that's one sort of abiding zone, in my brain. I kind of retreat into that. That's sort of the formula for joy.
Right.
A book to read and those sounds.
Sounds really give you a sense of the rhythm of the day in Calcutta. Because I know that when I would wake up, it would be sort of, I could hear, the street sweepers sweeping, and that, it was a sign, okay, of morning.
Yes. And you still hear that sound.
Yeah. So
in my husband's house now, when I wake up, it's to that shoop 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 of the
Exactly.
and it fills me with guilt that there are people who are actually cleaning the streets and I'm still in bed, so I immediately get up.
Yes. Wow.
Yeah.
So you went to Delhi to study at JNU, right?
Yeah, but before that there's Presidency, so there's College Street.
Mm-hmm.
I could live in College Street. I think, just sort of the idea that you can walk through College Street and there are these books. I think perhaps because I'm a writer, and perhaps because for writers also the world is changing now in so many ways.
Yes.
There is the internet, and there are e-books, and there's Kindle, and there's reading on Kindle, and all of that. And the world of technology is such a quick, fast-changing one, and I'm not one to keep up with trends. So in my mind, I think that's the other thing about College Street, that it's a street of books, it's a sea of books,
Yeah.
So whenever I'm in Calcutta, my husband and I, we still sort of, we make it a point to go there as often as we can and just walk down and buy some of these old books. You still get some of those lives of Trotsky and Stalin.
Right.
You'll still find those, or you'll find some book on French cinema.
Mm-hmm.
So
you find the most unlikely books that you wouldn't otherwise see in other places. So that's what's so unique and interesting about
College Street. You don't know what you're going to find.
Yeah.
And
you'll definitely find books that are not published anywhere else.
Yeah.
And so, that's your only, my father is involved with the Durga Puja in Ottawa, in
Ottawa. Mm-hmm.
And he's one of the Purohits.
Oh, okay. Oh, right. Yeah.
sort of his pastime, you know. And so anything that he needs to buy on, you know, doing pujo or anything like, he has to go to.
Including the books of the mantras.
Yes,
And
yes, he needs to
of
go.
course.
He needs to go to College Street to get those, and you know, it's not like you can buy them online. And
No,
know,
you can't.
it's-
So you have to go. So you have to physically
yes,
go.
Yes.
Yeah. So I think that's the other place sort of which defines me. You know. College Street and the sounds, because you also have the trams in College
Yes,
Street,
that's
you know.
right, that's right.
So it's the snarl of the buses and so the buses and the other traffic, and so you also have the trams and you also have the talas. So the little bells of the talas. So so I think, you know, I still hear it in my head sometimes.
Does it inspire you when you're writing at all, or does it?
Well, I think it does, because, you know, this book, the Calcutta book, it happened out of nowhere. I was not supposed to write this at all.
Yeah,
I was
you were working
writing
on something else.
on the Heat and Dust project.
Yes,
That's
yes.
what I was supposed to write. And then
Okay.
there's the Vague Woman's Handbook, so the sequel of that. But instead, you know, it's what I say is there's this one lady in this book, Mrs. Mona Lisa Das, and she's a
Right.
school gate mom. You know, and it's sort of a very Calcutta phenomena. You have these mums who wait outside the schools, and they structured their whole days around the school day.
I've seen that.
You've
yes,
seen that,
yes,
right?
yes, yes.
So she's a school gate mom. She's
And
not exactly,
there's
but
a whole social community.
there's a whole
almost around
social
that.
community.
Yeah.
So, you know, their lives are structured by their kids' tuitions and the grapevine of suggestions,
Yeah.
and they'll bring healthy snacks.
Yeah.
And these mothers, and I'm sure they have a sisterhood of sorts also over there, a very
Yes.
competitive sisterhood, if I may say so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
So
They're
it's
their kids are all, they're competing
Yeah.
to get in the same schools
Yeah,
and all
yeah,
that.
yeah. So Mrs. Mona Lisa Das came to me fully formed, and I just had to write this book.